that ship's considered highly vaccinated. And then there's a new vaccination standard of excellence, which means you have those and the booster, if whatever booster you're supposed to have. And this is a whole new level of bureaucracy that is being added on tracking vaccination status of crew members. There's also passengers. There's also new testing, quarantine, and mask guidelines, just to give you an idea of how what ships are going to fit in what category. The CDC is monitoring approximately 110 ships out there right now on operating in the U.S. And out of that, there's a handful that are considered not highly vaccinated, but 106 of those ships are considered highly vaccinated ships. So no one has got the vaccination standard of excellence. Of course, nobody has had a chance to opt in. The cruise lines have to opt in or out of this program by this Friday. I anticipate that most, if not all, cruise lines will opt in, because if you're not in the program, then CDC claims you don't have any visibility to them, and that could cause unnecessary delays and et cetera. So I think everyone will opt in. As of today, there are 20 ships that have already opted in. One major line has contributed. It's got multiple brands, and all the brands have signed into the program. So, my personal view is that this will operate with most ships in the highly vaccinated arena, which is where they are today. I think the only guys that will really look to go to the standard of excellence of the extended cruises over 15 days. The big difference or motivation for a cruise line to be in the standard of excellence versus highly vaccinated is CDC has two different quarantine guidelines. So if you're a standard of excellence ship and somebody shows up positive, you only have to isolate for 5 days. But if you're a highly vaccinated ship and somebody turns up positive, they have to isolate for 10 days. I can't explain the logic behind that, and I'm not going to try. They're going to reevaluate this new program on March 18th. In addition, there's been a lot of pushback when the CDC raised in December, and I mentioned it last month, the cruise ship travel health notice. They raised it to level 4, which is avoid travel. Is just last night, since we had our slides prepared, at 4:30 yesterday, they downgraded it from level 4 to level 3, which means if you're going to travel, make sure you're fully vaccinated, or if you're not vaccinated, you should avoid non-essential travel. But we were level 3 back in July of last year up until December when they raised it to level 4, but now they've raised it back down to level 3. Unfortunately, many or most of the destinations that you go to are still on the level 4 CDC list. So, but at least the industry itself has been moved back. Any questions on cruise before I move on?
I can't speak for my own fellow commissioners up here, but I think it sounds a lot like communism to me personally, if you want to know my personal view about it. It doesn't make sense. These cruise lines they're complying with the original CDC guidelines, and why they would put this extra layer on top of it to try to control commerce is beyond my comprehension of American values. So if you need to respond to them, please. I can't speak for my fellow commissioners, but it's hindering our operations, in my opinion.
It doesn't directly impact us as much, but the cruise lines now have it's a 57-page document of revised protocols, and the protocols clearly are working. The industry's survived Omicron and is still operating successfully, and the fact that the CDC has lowered the level from 4 to 3 is a good indication that the industry is managing itself quite well. So the extra layers of new bureaucracy, I concur with your thoughts on that.
And Micah, to a great extent, you're correct. They're academians making decisions without any regard to business, because they're not business people. It's easy to make rules affecting whatever business it is without any consideration to the drastic effect it's going to have on business.
And I highlight again that
not just the cruise, but a lot of
it's overreach by a government agency, but I'll leave it at that. What really gets to me is the difference in 5 days versus 10 days on quarantine, depending on what the ship's vaccination status is. And once you step off the gangway, you're back to 5 days because everybody on land's on 5 days. So why there's a 10-day program on the ship is, I don't understand. But anyway, everybody will work with it. I mean, the CDC is an agency that's necessary and does grant free critique for ships coming in and out of U.S. waters. They've got their job to do, and if this is how we all have to deal with it, we'll deal with it. So